wore a second hat as Deputy Director of Public Works for Richland County, and then the opportunity to move over to the Aeronautics Commission as the program manager opened up, and that's where I landed last October. So less than a year on station, but that's all right. I have worked with the Aeronautics Commission over the years. I know the people well, and it is really neat to be able to broaden your scope and get to know counterparts and colleagues throughout the state, and not just be focused on your one airport. So that's kind of neat. So anyway, I would like to tell you a little bit about what the Airport Commission does and how we interact with you all, primarily through Jeff and his staff, on a matter of routine. And then, like I say, if you've got any questions, please feel free. So this is the Commission's mission statement, and we'll not read it verbatim, but we'll point out a couple of terms that I think stand out, and I've boldened economic development, safety, development of our public use airports, and that's kind of sort of that's my bailiwick. Air transportation for state officials, and also providing aviation education opportunities. So very broad, lot of moving parts, and it keeps us busy. Did that do it? Am I not holding it down enough? Anyone?
No, try.
Try it.
Try that.
Can you all advance it manually?
Yeah, let me see that. Let's see.
Yeah, that's much better.
Sorry about that. No worries.
Well, you got one slide up.
Yeah.
There we go.
There it goes.
Terrific. Okay, so the body, if you will, the governing body is the commission, and this is a very brief but succinct description of how the commission is composed. So there are 7 congressional districts throughout the state. So we have 7 appointees, plus we have a chairman who is appointed by the governor and approved by the Senate. So a total of 8 commissioners, and they serve for I think 4-year terms. Next slide. I think we might have skipped a slide, maybe. No, I guess not. Okay, go ahead. Actually, is that working now? Can I? Terrific. I might have gotten one out of order here. Okay, so you all are in the 3rd congressional district, and your commissioner is a gentleman by the name of Skeets Cooper. Some of you all might know Skeets. He's a former airport manager for Pickens County, and he is well connected, and he is active and has a lot of energy and does a lot of great things, not only for his district but for the state's airport system as well. And his contact information is there. Note that his term will be expiring early next year, so there will be a vacancy that hopefully will be filled in the not too distant future. But again, Skeets is a great ally to have, and I would encourage you all to please feel free to contact him during his remaining time on the commission. Okay, so obviously you all are focused most on the great Oconee County Airport, but this kind of gives you an idea of the airport system throughout the entire state. So we have 211 airports total So that is public and private. Of those, the majority, 145, are private airports. We have 66 airports that are public use. 52 airports are in something called the NIPIUS. And to have that NIPIUS designation is real important. That is an acronym, National Plan for Integrated Airport System. It is a list that is published by the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, every 2 years. You all are on the NIPIUS, and that's a good place to be because that enables you to participate in a grant program called the AIP, Airport Improvement Program. And a lot of, if you're probably aware, a lot of capital projects, a lot of development at airports is funded by grants. The AIP funds currently, their typical funding level is 90%. So that's significant. And then the state follows on with a 5% match to that, and typically the local airport sponsor, the owner of the airport, provides 5% as well. So for a nickel's worth of investment, you get a dollar's worth of development, which I'm sure you all have heard that many times before, but it's definitely worth repeating. We have, though, I will tell you, a lot of other grant programs that we participate in and we make available to our airport sponsors. And I would definitely recommend, and we're going to talk a little bit about them, that you become familiar with that, because I'll tell you, one of the things I do is process grant requests for reimbursement that come in routinely. And I've actually been more heavily involved in that than I was previously, because our airport engineer who used to perform that function has resigned and moved on. So we currently have a vacancy. So that work has kind of shifted over to me, and we got to keep the dollars flowing and the payments being made and processed. So that's become a top priority for me. And so I've been tracking that. And in the month of July alone, this month, and we're not even done yet, we've paid out over $1.1 million in grants that were previously awarded. And I will tell you that most of them were for non-AIP match grants. So, like I say, we pay out a lot of money for a lot of grants that are not necessarily tied to an FAA development project. I think that's significant and worth noting. But anyway, getting back to it, 52 airports that are on the NIPIUS, 6 airports that are commercial service. We have 6 airports that are non-NIPIUS. So what does that mean? It means they're owned by a public entity. They're a public use airport, but they do not meet the necessary criteria in order to be included on the NIPIUS. However, we still support those airports. And we have an 80-20 grant program for development projects that help keep those airports going, even if they're, like I say, not bigger, more robust on the NIPIUS. We have 5 military airfields, and then we have 9 airports that are private, but they're public use, all right? So when you develop a private airport, a little private grass strip maybe, you fill out a form for the FAA and you indicate public or private. And if you're public, then that means that it is in fact open to the public, and you cannot place restrictions on who can come to it. So yeah, we have 9 airports that are private but for public use. So what all those numbers mean, a small staff or a small commission keeps us kind of hopping. Let's see, did we do that? Okay. Okay, I think we're back on track. So how are we organized? Kind of into 4 building blocks, for lack of a better term. We have the commission, which I described. Those are the appointed commissioners. We have administration, that is our executive director, Gary Siegfried. Gary, that might be a name that you all recognize. Gary was the program manager before he moved up. So it's great to have that continuity, and I can go to him when I have questions. We have our flight department, and then we have airport development. That's what we're going to talk about most today. That's what I head up. So we have grants, kind of 2 big, broad categories of grants: airport development and education. We provide some level of oversight for development projects. We don't get down into the weeds and, inspect projects. That is someone else's job. That's why you have a inspector or resident project representative to, keep an eye and provide that high degree of oversight. But we do, we want to be involved and keep abreast about what's going on because, like I say, we're funding a pretty good amount of that. We have airport maintenance program that I'm going to talk a little bit more about. Airport safety data inspections. We also have a drone, a unmanned aerial vehicle, which can help in providing aerial imagery and also can help in mapping contours of maybe your airspace and approaches. Sometimes trees can encroach into those approach surfaces, and we can kind of help in identifying those. And then compatible land use evaluation, or the CLUE tool. We are fighting an uphill battle to try to protect our investment in our public use airports by keeping an eye on development that occurs in proximity to the airports, especially beneath the approaches. That is what we are most concerned about. Okay, so let's talk about grants. As I said, and as you can see on the list, we've got a whole bunch of different grant types, and I will tell you all of this information that I'm providing to you today is from our, I'll say, new website. It's not as new as it was back in February when we rolled it out at the the Aviation Association Conference. But it is there, and we keep tweaking it and trying to improve it and add things to it. But like I say, we have a whole bunch of different type of grants, not just the 5% AIP match. We have a program for if you're going to get a new terminal building, we can pay up to 50%. However, there is a cap on that of $500,000. And any more, hard to get a terminal building for $1 million. But nevertheless, $500,000 is better than a stick in the eye. We have a state and local airport development grant. That is a 60% grant. So if you've got a development project that for whatever reason the FAA cannot fund, you do have another option. And you can come to Aeronautics, and we might be able to fund you. We pay 60%. You, the airport sponsors, pay 40%. We have our local airport maintenance grants, and for a NIPIUS airport like you all have, it's 75-25. For an unclassified or a non-NIPIAS airport, it's 80-20. Non-NIPIAS airport development grants, again, I alluded to that earlier, 80%. Secondary runway rehab grant, 90%. And then commercial service airport entitlement grant is 100%, not to exceed $500,000 in a 2 fiscal year period. So the program that has been set up fairly recently for commercial service airports is $250,000 of entitlement, and they can roll that over and get up to $500,000, but no more than that. And again, you can go to the website and find out the information about these in much greater detail. Okay, so our maintenance program. This is different from what I talked about with a maintenance grant, 75-25. Don't get confused, because this is also a 75-25% match, but it's a different program. And as we bureaucrats like to say, it's a different pot of money. So we have contractors and suppliers throughout the state that can assist you in pavement maintenance, vegetation maintenance, herbicide and fire ant control. That is, we provide the chemicals and you provide the application. Airfield electrical repair, airport signage, and replacement of windsocks. We can help with all of that. Signage and windsocks and herbicide and fire ant control, we absorb, or we pay for 100% of the cost. All the rest of them are 75-25. Little caveat on the airfield electrical repair: if it is damage caused by, say, it's struck by an aircraft, that should be covered by insurance, so we're not going to pay for that, all right? If it's struck by lightning, that should be covered by insurance. We will not pay for that. But everything else, just normal wear and tear and things like that, we will split the 75-25. Expectation is that some basic level of maintenance, changing bulbs, replacing globes on an edge light, those types of things will be taken care of by the sponsor. But good program, and definitely encourage folks to take advantage of that. Okay, airport safety data inspections. We do 20 general aviation airport inspections per federal fiscal year. This is an FAA requirement for non-Part 139 airports. Part 139 airport is basically a commercial service airport. For the most part, commercial service airports. We update the airport master record, which some people might refer to as a 5010 form, but that nomenclature is actually not quite accurate. So airport master record, and that is your official airport data with the FAA. We inspect your Part 77 approach surfaces, and we just determine if there are penetrations to them, and if there are, that needs to be something that you all take action on in the not too distant future. You don't want those to, I say grow, very often they're trees that penetrate, and you want to be able to take care of those. And we do this through a memorandum of agreement with an organization called NASAO, National Association of State Aviation Officials. Acting up again. Oh. Okay, next one. This is the something that is really difficult to kind of get your arms around. And I made reference to an uphill battle, and that is because it's one thing to have a grant program or a management program or maintenance program or something like that. You can deal with a dedicated, understanding, knowledgeable airport staff, right? And you can establish those relationships. And it's a challenge. You saw how many airports we have throughout the state, but nevertheless, that's something that, like I say, is manageable. Working with, take that level of complexity and then ramp it up about 3 or 4 notches. So instead of just dealing with an airport sponsor like Oconee County, you're going to deal with Oconee County and then every single municipality that is in close proximity to the airport, right? And, you know, it's one thing in kind of rural, beautiful country, Oconee County, but you get down to places that are more highly developed, more urban, and it can be a challenge. So what we are trying to do is to inform and ultimately prevent incompatible development near airports. Now, I have heard, and if it's not actually true, it's probably mostly true, that South Carolina is one of the fastest growing states in the country, and I believe it. You'll recall I talked about coming up from Beaufort back in 2002, and I remember what Beaufort County was growing like gangbusters when I was there, but I remember what it was like when I left in 2002. But I tell you what, when I went back about 20 years later, it was almost unrecognizable. It's like every square foot of undeveloped land had been built upon. And I remember how much priority was trying to manage growth. And boy, it is tough. Anyway, we try to manage growth around our airports. And what we specifically want to avoid whenever possible is incompatible land use. And generally speaking, that means residential, high-density residential development below our approach surfaces. And, you know, you would think that that would be obvious. No, no one would want to build below a approach to an airport, but you'd be surprised. And anyway, like I say, to establish relationships with planning staffs. And again, you know, we're airport people. You know, we talk airports, we understand airports and things like that. But then you got airport people and you got these planning people over here. And oh my gosh. So it can be a challenge. The American Planning Association, you see a little quote there about what airport compatible land use is. We try to do this. We're trying to enhance the safety and quality of life for both the flying public, but also, I'm not going to say more importantly, but also for people on the ground. Who wants an airplane, going over their house at all hours at a low altitude, making an approach or taking off or whatever. So that is the reason we're trying to do that. And we are not only looking to protect the integrity of our airspace imaginary surfaces, our Part 77 surfaces that I made reference to earlier, but also the land use. And I will tell you that many, if not most, of our public use airports have some type of a protection in place in the form of their development regulations or an airport overlay district that addresses the issue of their approach surfaces, but not as many address the issue of compatible land use. And that could be a topic I could talk to you all afternoon about, but we'll just leave it at that. But this mission, unlike some of the other things that we do, is actually in some pretty high degree of detail enshrined in Title 55, which is our state law that governs aeronautics. So anyway, it again keeps us on our toes. All right, and then I made reference earlier to our website. I don't want to pat myself on the back too much, but you know, a lot of the answers about what we do and who we are and what's going on with our state's airports can be found at our website, and I would invite you all to take a look and surf around a little bit, and like I say, you might actually find a couple of answers. You'll be able to find a lot more information about our grants and things like that. So, all right, so, whoa. Well, you've got my contact information, but like I say, if you have any questions or comments or anything else like that, please feel free. I'd love to chat with you more.
Any questions?
No, it's very informative.
Chris, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's great, great talk.
Appreciate
You coming all the way up.
Terrific. Well, my pleasure. My pleasure. I was saying that had the opportunity to actually hitch a ride on the one of the state aircraft last week when I went up to Anderson and Donaldson Center, but unfortunately couldn't work it out this week. But nevertheless, it's we've got a nice, reliable fleet of vehicles. So, piece of cake. Yes, sir.
I heard you say Skeets Cooper's commission expires in
In
February.
February of next year. Yes, sir.
Is he eligible, or does he intend to
Yeah, I must admit, I'm not sure what about, being reappointed. I think his plan is to step down and retire. So, like I say, that opens up a position, and we just recently, we'd had a vacancy for many months for District 2, and we just recently got an appointee confirmed, and the District 4 Commission appointee is turning over as we speak. So we've got a full commission, but do have a number of vacancies coming up, so want to make sure they get filled in a timely manner. Terrific. Great.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Well, my pleasure. And sorry about the clicker there.
All right, gentlemen, are there any member comments? Of course, no need for an executive session. Entertain a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
In a second.
Second.
We are adjourned.